Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat to Win show where sports nutrition meets peak performance. Get ready for expert insights, real stories, and tips to help you win with every meal. Let's dive in.
So welcome to the Winner's Circle and the Eat to Win podcast show. I am Margaret Downs and a board certified sports dietitian, and we are here to talk about all things sports nutrition and how we help athletes win. Whether you're an athlete or just passionate about nutrition, this is the place to be. Today, we are thrilled to have an amazing guest with us. Joining us is Dr. Moe Gibbons. She is a medical doctor and she is a board certified obesity medicine specialist. She is also a certified sports professional, certified by the International Society of Sports Nutrition. So we are thrilled. We're going to be breaking down the role of GLP-1s as well as food noise and how lifestyle medicine can transform metabolic health and athletic health. So let's jump right in. Dr. Gibbons, we are just really grateful that you're here. We know that you have over 25 years of mentoring experience across your many roles as an athletic trainer, a triathlon coach, sports nutritionist, and a physician. You have also founded Active Medical Solutions, which is a lifestyle medical practice. So we're looking forward to learning from you today and appreciate your time in joining our podcast.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I'm extremely happy to be here. I love what you're doing. I'm just very happy to help get the message out in any way that I can.
Super. We're really grateful for your expertise and look forward to hearing all about what you're doing. And so I just want to start off by just tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you have so many credentials and obviously an expert in what you're doing. And so we're privileged to have your background here and helping our listeners understand more about your expertise.
Thank you for that. I never want to poo-poo the credentials because I did work hard for them. I actually just let the ATC go 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, because I just held it for so many years. I'm like, I gotta let it go. I gotta let the letters go. It doesn't mean the love of athletic training went away, but I was keeping up literally with the CEUs for 26 years. I haven't used that certification and I just can't let it go. I can't let it go. So I finally did. And so really my passion for nutrition, much like most of us, was born out of my own struggle with food, right? You start trying to solve your own issues. And if you're anything like me, you can't super well. It's not sustainable. I tried for over 45 years, and it's certainly not without a lot of struggle. I mean, that's really why I'm so grateful to the GLP-1s as a class. I say the words GLP-1s when I still am on tirzepatide, but I use the term GLP-1s because depending on what's covered by insurance, like whatever you can get, our bodies have been just put through the ringer for a lot of years. And for some of us, our brains have been rewired and not in a great way with food. Yeah. And this actually speaks to the credential part. I have a lot of letters after my name. You know what I still couldn't do? Still couldn't fix food. And it's not my relationship with food. That's a very distinct difference. My relationship, I have not worked out to earn food. I'm not a dog in many, many years. I work out to burn off the crazy, not the excess calories. That's the difference.
Yeah. I always told people I worked out to burn off stress. It was just like, that's just the evaporator.
Yes. And that's moving our bodies is important, but not to earn our food, right? I didn't need to heal my relationship with food. I was in therapy for a lot of years trying to get through the food addiction part people will argue it's not an addiction. I don't know. It sure felt like one to me because no matter what I did, I couldn't stop eating inappropriately.
Well, like you said, our brains are patterned around our behavior. And so over time, our brain just tells us to do certain things.
Yeah. Like my brain knew highway to happiness probably includes chocolate.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us because maybe that isn't something you share all the time, but I think it certainly lends perspective into why a lot of people go into the field that we're in because we become passionate over the trials and tribulations we've personally been through. So it also gives great context to your ability to help other people through it.
And I never want someone to struggle as long as I did, but many of us did. I mean, I work with people in 50s, 60s, 70s that they've struggled for decades, even 30s, right? because we start these trends as we're children. I mean, I remember using food as a drug as early as 6. I mean, I have memories of that. I mean,
That's amazing.
because it made me feel safe.
Felt that comfort and yeah, that nurturing
It
around
worked
it.
really well. It still works really well. Even on a GLP-1, you can out eat a drug very easily. And that's what I talk to my patients a lot about as well, is that those circuits for me, I don't think they will ever be healed. I don't know. I mean, I'm not willing to say ever, but with what we know about the metabolic benefits of GLP-1s, people ask me all the time, are you going to stay on it forever? Probably yes, because the metabolic benefits, the cellular benefits of being on these medications will improve and lengthen my life. So I don't know why I would try to get off other than a media stigma. And money. I mean, that's always, let's be real, they're not cheap.
So tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little bit about the GLP-1s. And first of all, I'm sure there are a lot of listeners who may not even be informed, right? Like they're just like hearing this, and this, and
They're like, what's a GLP-1?
Yeah.
So
So
it's
tell us
funny.
what a GLP-1 is, and then how are you applying it in practice, and what kind of benefits and results are you seeing?
So it's funny you say that, because I live in this space, and I have lived in this nutrition space since I was 18. I've lived in the GLP-1 space for the past 3 years. I mean, just underwater. So for me, I think everyone knows. And I need to continue daily, back it up, start talking to people, meet them where they are. Because GLP-1s, I'll give you just a quickie background. I'm actually looking at time. I'm going to give you a quick background on GLP-1. The
I got
GLP
you.
receptor has been studied for over 50 years. So that receptor has been studied, worked on, looked at for 50 years. The drug class has been looked at for over 20 years, has been used, right? So it's been researched for longer than that. It's been FDA approved for over 20 years. So when people come at me with, oh, they've only been out. No, you've only known about them for 3 years.
I did not know that.
So the first one hit the market in 2005. Which means you know how long that FDA process is. It was in development for many years before that. So when people start, well, they'll tell you, we don't know long-term effects. I don't know. 20 years is kind of a long time in a drug life. So certainly is in my life.
Right.
And they don't just act in the GI tract. They act on essentially, I mean, it's every organ in the body, right? So they work on your brain, they work on your kidneys, they work on your liver, they work on your cells. And it's not your grandmother's hydroxycut or your mom's or mine for that matter, depending on your age, So this is a true, what I consider, and the way I kind of explain it to patients, is true metabolic repair. So it teaches your body to use food better. And on an anecdotal platform,
You're fine.
I'm like,
We like puppy dogs around here.
my dog's just going to bark. It is what it is.
We like company.
There's a squirrel. There are important things. And actually, it's like what's in my head, right? Oh, look at that idea. So it acts everywhere. And the metabolic benefits, as an example, just as a quickie study, Ozempic was shown to have a 20% reduction in all-cause mortality, not related to the weight loss. That's something not a lot of people know. So on the flip side, a lot of people are trying to get off these drugs when in reality, maybe we should be on the highest dose we can tolerate and afford to reverse what our food system has done since after World War II. I will not argue with you that our food system is broken, that our medical system is broken. Our brains are therefore broken. I get it. I just can't change that today. And I don't want to wait that long to be healthy. So I'm going to do what I can with the tools that I'm given.
Interesting. Like that perspective. So who are GLP-1s most effective for? Who do you see these drugs being the target population? Because there's a lot of, there's a lot of good conversation going around about how, of course we're using it in obesity, but we're also using it potentially with, athletic populations. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I think a lot of that is crossover, because they're FDA approved for obesity and diabetes. So Mounjaro, I use the tirzepatide drug because it is most effective. It's actually a GLP-1 plus a GIP receptor analog. So it seems in our patients, less side effects, hits the food noise better, works better, period. Also more expensive, ironically enough. Not in all situations though. That's a long discussion. hit me up on my TikTok lives for that one. We can talk about that. I'm on TikTok live all the time, but usually Tuesday mornings, because that's a lot of navigation stuff. But as far as the actual tirzepatide itself, that's the drug I like to talk about. Like I said, it's the best one out there. Athletes are using it, but I think athletes are also using it because as endurance athletes, as an example, your cortisol bumps because you're under a lot of stress. Well, what happens when your cortisol, it's that facial bloat, it's the weight gain, it's the food noise, just the whole picture. This will step in the middle of that. I know women who have trained for an Ironman and gained 30 pounds working out 20 hours a week. And people would tell me that's not possible. I've seen it time and time again because our appetites are driven by our brain and our cellular mechanisms. It's kind of that simple.
So what are kind of the eating? What would you say? How are you eating around taking a GLP-1? What kind of diet prescription is most highly recommended?
Probably and hopefully the same one you would recommend. It's all for health, right? It just allows us to make better decisions, right? We all know broccoli's healthier than brownies, right? I mean, like, this is not news. But why don't we do that? That's the I call it the Viktor Frankl space. It's that space between stimulus and response, where instead of I'm starving, let me grab the potato chips, to I'm hungry, let's grab some food, right? It's just that little shift in thinking, which is the shift we all wanted. That's the shift we've all been looking for, but we just couldn't do. Or like, I probably shouldn't say we, because I'll call myself out here for sure. I couldn't do it.
There's a collective, population of people that we applies to. So I think it's not
I'm not a special snowflake.
It definitely is a collective, not just individual. But I do also like the idea that it's like, okay, so are you seeing a reduced, cravings and specific like desires for certain types of maybe salt, sugar, all the things, the saturated fats that are creating health problems?
The happy brain combo of fat, sugar, and salt. Honestly, I see some people that never bounce back and have a sweet craving once they start. I find that incredible. I am not one of those people.
Fascinating.
And I had it at the beginning where I had no desire for sweets. I mean, I am a hardcore binge eater for many years. And I have people, I lost it at the beginning. The very first day I took Manjaro, I had zero desire. It was bizarre. I had no food noise. I forgot to eat for probably the first time in my entire life because I was busy actually doing things with my brain.
Wow, that's incredible. Liquid Fuel is a new sports and hydration product formulated by a sports dietitian to give athletes the edge to train and compete longer. It contains low glycemic carbohydrate platinose designed to keep blood sugar levels more stable, to provide energy for 3 to 4 hours without the blood sugar crash seen in other leading sports drinks. Its unique 4-part electrolyte formula includes 50% of your daily magnesium need to optimize muscle function. Liquid Fuel is naturally sweetened, along with no artificial ingredients or colors. Currently being used by high school, collegiate, and professional teams, Liquid Fuel allows you to live life with confidence, knowing you're properly fueling your body. Visit drinkliquidfuel.com and use the code MSD10 to get 10% off your order. So tell us a little bit about the food noise. Tell us how you describe food noise and how you feel like this impacts a person's ability to make good decisions, and how this, maybe the relationship with the GLP-1s help to diminish some of that.
So I didn't know food noise was a thing. I just thought that was regular life, that everyone had this like ticker tape. When you're watching Sports Center and the scores are going across the bottom?
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, it's like constant, what am I eating? What should I be eating? Did I get my protein in for the day? It's just constant. Or, the brownies are in the, you have brownie mix in there. There's Nutella in there. Why don't you just go straight for the Nutella? Like, it's just that constant chatter, absolute chatter. And it's not where you're hearing voices. You know, I'm emergency medicine trained. It's not that kind of thing, but it's just this constant using up half of your brain, wondering about food. What are you going to eat next? It's like, there aren't a lot of maybe more, maybe I'm again making myself a special snowflake, but you could be stuffed from Thanksgiving and thinking, I know there's pie in there. It's unrelated to being hungry. That's why now it also gave me an off switch that I never had before. So it was twofold. Now, the interesting thing though with that food noise is once that stopped and it got quiet, I had enormous potential that I never saw before, which like I said, I'm board certified in emergency medicine. I went through medical school. I stayed married through medical school. I made it through residency. I have willpower in spades, but now it's more like the best way I can explain it is you are able to flow through life. You can be creative without feeling just bogged down.
Yeah. So it kind of gives your brain other places to focus and other endeavors. And that sounds really incredible for a lot of people who especially are preoccupied with the conversation that they're having in their head with the food. And it certainly is everywhere in our culture. And it's always in the marketing and the exploitation of, hey, this is delicious. Come over here and try this, as well as portion distortion, which doesn't give anybody real, clear picture of exactly how much to eat. So that's another conversation. But if there was one thing you could change about the way we are looking at obesity or weight management and how that's treated specifically in athletes and healthcare settings, what do you think it would be?
I think the most important thing from my perspective, and this is admittedly selfish, is when I was 50 pounds heavier, I got cleared by a cardiologist to do Ironman because my echo was fine, which essentially means that I didn't have a heart attack yet. And my cholesterol was very high, but I was so active that they were like, oh, just work on diet and exercise, because I hadn't done that for the past 20 years and tried to get it down. But I thought the same thing, right? Because I was also, no, I can do this. I can do this. Well, come to find out, 2 years after I had lost the weight, I started having some chest pain and I got a coronary CTA with contrast that showed a plaque in the spot that they call the widowmaker. So I was cleared by a cardiologist to do Ironman with probably a lesion twice that size at the time, because she looked at me and saw I was an athlete and she thought I was fine. That's scary.
Yeah, that is.
So when we think about, and I don't have heart disease in my family. This is earned. I've earned this with lots of night shifts, stress, abuse, interesting college years, all the things.
Right.
And so I think that's the most important thing, is just because you're an athlete does not make you invincible. And it doesn't, I call it a proactive baseline. And people will go to their doctor and they'll say, well, we're going to get a calcium scan, because that's where we would start on that, to look at your heart. People say, oh, athlete calcium scans look different. They don't look like this. They don't have a big fat plaque in one spot. It's a different type of burden. But when your doctor will say, oh, it's not covered by insurance, we are so indoctrinated by the traditional medical system. We're not going to say, well, how much is the test? It's $100. Get it done. So it's looking at, it's being responsible for your own safety, using tools that are available. And it might not be something that is necessarily mainstream. But again, doctors used to smoke at the bedside and not wear gloves. Mm-hmm. Things might change.
Good point. Well, you bring up some good points in there too with athletes, because there is an assumption that athletes are just a healthy population. And we talk a lot about how at risk they are for many, not only injuries, but health issues, and they have genetics just like everyone else. So,
yeah,
the risk factors are there for athletic injury and health decline, and certainly to call that out and be aware that they need the same integrated approach as anyone who would walk into a doctor's office. So let's just say, if there was anything that you could say about maybe the controversy around GLP-1s, we can talk a little bit just briefly about, what is this controversy and how do you go about kind of debunking that?
Frustrating, to be honest. especially as an emergency physician who spent 15 years on the ground treating true gastroparesis, for example, in diabetics long before they were on any of these medications. The media took it and ran with it before we had any impression of actually what it was. The media took a drug that was initially approved for diabetes that had then, Wegovy's been approved for fat loss or for obesity specifically since I think 2017. But everything's Ozempic because, it's a diabetes drug that we're taking away from the diabetics. It's not even in the same kind of pen. They made it for a different purpose. Now that's also the FDA, and that's another issue that we don't need to get into. That was the narrative. That was the narrative that was pushed out. And it actually shows you how impactful propaganda can be. Because the first thing we all saw was, they're stealing these people who are fat people are stealing drugs from people who need it. And that became the narrative. I think it does a huge disservice to prevention, to actually not walking down that metabolic road. You can actually reverse. I mean, it was ridiculous. Something like 94% of the pre-diabetics reversed pre-diabetes on these medications. I mean, to me, that's pretty stinking obvious since it's what the drug does. But instead of framing it, instead of framing it that way, the media just took it and ran with it. And they're loud. They're very loud. Yeah. I just try to be louder.
Well, it was interesting. I just read an article the other day about how the adolescent climb in prediabetes, so how traumatic this is becoming, for our population that, 10, 20 years ago, we weren't seeing this really escalated rise in adolescent complications there. So clearly we have something that we need to work on. Dr. Moe, it has just really been great to get your perspective on this. I think that our listeners are going to love just cluing in, but they're also going to really want to find out how to get in touch with you and contact you and get more information from you. So if you would tell us the best ways to contact you and or find you out there.
Easiest way is on social media, Instagram and TikTok. Username is Dr. Moe Gibbons. Mo has an E, Gibbons has 2 B's. And send me a message. Love the follow. Would love to chat. I have a podcast as well. It's at watchdrmo.com. That's my YouTube channel. So that's on there. I would love to have everyone listen, give me input. I love input. When you hear something, you're like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. Tell me. Because I love to go back and say, did I not explain that well? Tell me, help me get better. That's my goal every day.
Super. Well, that is it for today's episode of the Winner's Circle and the Eat to Win podcast show. Big thanks to Dr. Maureen Gibbons, Dr. Moe, for joining us and sharing her expertise on GLP-1s, her insights regarding food noise, and lifestyle medicine. If you found today's insights valuable, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your community. And also do us a big favor and review us. Until next time, keep winning. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the Eat to Win show. Remember, every meal is a step toward victory. Until next time, stay strong and keep winning.